What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is Ryan, your DIY guy. If you're new here, welcome. Go ahead, like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of this exciting content. On today's episode, we're going to be transforming this backyard pool area to fix up what some dodgy contractors have done. So stay tuned. Coming up next on Nail and Screw. We got stuck straight into it with demolition, which was quite a lot of fun, tearing down all of this mess that the previous contractor had left. And you can see these are some giant steps that I don't know who would be able to climb up easy enough. So we had to tear all of that out and get back to bare basics. We needed to widen the strip next to the pool and fix all of the cobblestone paving that became dislodged and was uneven and didn't drain correctly. But first off, we had to go and get some supplies, so we hit the hardware and got all of our materials. Back on the job site, and we've topped off the pool to ensure that any of the dirt and debris don't fall to the bottom and give us more work in the end. And here we are excavating this narrow walkway. I don't know how thin you had to be to walk past this area, but it was incredible. So we've widened it about 30 to 40 centimeters, which is not a lot, but it makes a massive difference in the end, which you'll see. And we had somewhat of a process of removing and refilling and removing and refilling despite the rain and despite all these narrow areas that we were working in. As you can see, we've started digging out those old steps, which was incredible. You had to be a giant to literally get up and down there. In some areas, it was 50 to 60 centimeters high, which was crazy. But here we're clearing out the area just to continue excavating, and we're literally going to be sinking it backwards and creating smaller steps, which will be about 30 centimeters for the tread and 20 centimeters for the riser, which is normal steps. And you can see some of the concrete we actually had to remove because of all of that mess. Here's the side wall going back up, and we're constructing it now, which widens that pathway. And we've obviously got all our building materials at hand, our mortar mixture and our bricks, so that we can continue with a relatively quick production system. And this went up fairly quickly in about a day or two. As we were building the new wall and the steps, we were backfilling simultaneously to fill any voids or gaps in the soil, as well as compacting just to ensure that it was solid enough for our build. Now on top of that, we added brick force in between every second or third course of bricks, which acts a bit like rebar and strengthens the overall build. Now, as you can see, the mortar mix is being added in a triangular fashion or laid down in a triangular fashion, and that just ensures when you place the brick that the mortar squeezes out evenly across the bottom surface of the brick, giving it a bigger surface area to adhere to and not leaving any gaps in there. Now, a good tip is to place your brick and place it slightly below your string line and slightly offset, just to ensure that you can continue building straight, because if you do touch the string line, it'll obviously change the direction of your build, which is not what you want. A huge thank you to this episode's sponsor, Tube Mastery and Monetization, an online guide to grow and monetize on YouTube that shows you a complete A to Z guide and step-by-step instructions on how you can grow your YouTube channel to make money online. Started by none other than Matt Parr. He is super successful with 9 different YouTube channels, a couple of silver play buttons and a gold play button for over 1 million followers. If you want to know how to be successful on YouTube, go and click the link down in the description box so you can get started. But now, let's get back to the video. I don't know about you, but have you ever worked in the rain, in the mud, in the cold? It's not a fun sight, but the rain kept beating down, but we were not giving up. Obviously, when it got too crazy, we stepped out, but we managed to get the brick wall and the steps completed, which is fantastic progress despite the elements. And you can see it is a semblance of normality. No more giant steps of 50 to 60 centimeters that you've got to climb up. It is normal steps which you can traverse, and it is looking much better. Yes, of course, it's looking much worse before it gets there. So quite messy, but nonetheless, we're making some good progress. And onwards to the next step, which is creating a concrete foundation in this area. This area just had soil and was paved up to the gate here, or the fence, and that was not going to hold back at all. Because of the pressure of the pool, in time to come, this would have just completely failed. And so we ripped it all out and then laid a concrete foundation to cure up, and then built a small brick wall which acted somewhat like a retaining wall. Got that back to grade, as you can see over here, and then leveled out all of the soil, and then got on with the paving, which is pretty cool. With this ribbon border now cemented in place, it gave us some peace of mind that the pavers won't move or subside or look like they did before we got here. And this just was a great assurance that down the line we weren't going to have any issues of, the pavers moving or subsiding, and just gave us a firm border with a pool and this edge so that we can go ahead and start paving in the middle section. So this was very important, and I don't think I would have lived with myself if we didn't do it. But onwards and upwards, the weather started improving. As you can see, it's a much warmer, sunnier day today, and we got on with plastering that brick wall that we had built just the day before. And that means the project is moving ahead, which is fantastic news, turning from an ugly duckling into a beautiful swan, if I must say so. With our paver border now fully cured up, we can go ahead and prepare the section for the rest of the pavers. And to do that, we raked out the area and hosed it down just to ensure adequate compaction of the soil. We added a layer of river sand to allow for the pavers to bed in. And we're using a cobblestone paver, as you see here, which looks like individual cobbles, but in fact it's a full paver, which is pretty cool. And we started on the right hand side by the pool, which is our straightest edge we had, and worked towards the left so that we've got all our cuts on one side, and ultimately we'll meet up with the rest of the pavers on the other side, which should match up quite nicely, and we do have a bit of wiggle room to play with. That gave us some time for our plaster to cure up on the wall that we built the day before, and that allows us to move on to the next step of the plastering process, which is cutting it in. So we're using a seed channel profile, and that literally just scrapes the plaster in a straight manner, and that allows us to get closer to the finish that we want, which is a smooth plaster finish. You can also get a rough plaster finish, but that won't match in with the rest of the plaster work we've got here. So in order to obtain the smooth plaster finish, we basically take this builder's brush and wet the surface, and then we take a wooden hand float and basically float the area, which is rubbing it in a circular fashion and applying pressure whilst doing so. What that does is allow the cream of the mortar to come up to provide a smoother finish, and it also compresses and compacts the mortar so that it can be longer lasting. And that was one of the issues we had on the other side to the left here, where the plaster was chipping away. Here's a view of the river sand in the final area of paving behind the pool, and also a look at how we grade it using the spirit level. So basically, as we are drawing back the sand, we are taking note of the spirit level, and the bubble is touching the line, which is called line fall, and that means that we've got runoff towards the left hand side, which is what we want. Here's a cool view of the plaster work now completed and busy curing out, as well as the paving that's gone down on the right hand side of the pool, and the pavers that are going in on the steps, the normal steps. They're turning out quite nicely, which I'm very happy about, as well as this paving in this area. It has also turned out quite beautifully, and this has also got runoff away from the walls towards the drain and out the fence. Now, even this wall saw a mini transformation. In the beginning, it was chipped and cracked and just looked sad for itself. Even the end was broken off. So we crisped up all the edges after we replastered it, and it turned out magnificent, especially when the paint went on, which you'll see shortly. But as for the pavers, we filled all of the pavers with a dry sand and cement mixture. We used a plaster sand because it's quite fine with the cement, and mixed that and then brushed it into all of the paver gaps. Once that was adequately in all of the gaps, we hosed down the area thoroughly just to activate the cement and ensure all of that mixture went in between the paver gaps to lock the pavers in for good, which was something that should have been done in the first place. Well, onto the home stretch, and that means paint. And for paint, we are using a white plaster primer. This is particularly good on newly plastered surfaces like we've got over here. And we also touched up that crack in the wall, which was letting the area down overall. But you can see it is starting to transform from that dirty, dusty area that was just looking sad for itself. It just wasn't finished properly, and I think we've done the entire space justice. Once those 2 coats of plaster primer dried out, we then applied an exterior PVA, and I must say it is looking like a scene out of Greece with the blue water and white walls. Okay, maybe I'm taking it a bit far, but you get what I'm saying. But forget about what I think. What do you guys think about the transformation from before to now? Do you absolutely love it? Let me know down in the comments below. But I guess enjoy the finished result. Well, that's a wrap on another successful project. The homeowner was thoroughly impressed with the transformation, and I hope you were too. Make sure you are subscribed and you hit that notification bell. Of course, give us a thumbs up. It helps us grow the channel tremendously. And if you want, go ahead and follow us on Instagram, where you'll get a snippet up front before it comes out on YouTube. But until next time, we'll see you on Nail and Screw.